Well, it was very promising to see the proposal that the governor's put out to invest more dollars in higher education in our public universities, as especially as a community college grad, our community colleges. So I look forward to those continued discussions, hoping to expand on some more on that investment. Obviously, would like to see a little bit more investment in MAP funding, but look forward. Again, this is a proposal. Look forward to having those conversations, not only with my colleagues, but with the governor in his office. I think one of the things that has been wonderful about what he talked about today is that there is some investment in workforce development. I have been hearing continuously from my community that we need more people in the pipeline. I have been working with our community colleges to make sure they also get an opportunity to help build those pipelines. So I look forward to that conversation and see if we can get education as part of that team to build that workforce. As we have seen, one of the things that's very important is continuing to move our fiscal house forward. I think you see some of the things that he's going to do on pensions. Again, it's a proposal. Look forward to those continuing conversation. I think it's very important that we pass a balanced budget like we have in years past and continuing that good momentum forward as we've seen our increases in bond ratings. So I look forward again to that discussion as we move through the legislative process for the budget. Es muy importante lo que habló del Governor Pritzker va a poner más dinero en nuestros colegios, el colegio comunitario, las universidades también. Quiero ver más dinero para becas de MEP, pero es una propuesta, ¿verdad? Y vamos a ver cómo va a ver cuando estamos negociando todo, ¿verdad? Pero lo que vi está bueno, pero quiero más. Él puso más dinero en su propuesta de budget. Quiero ver más dinero y más oportunidad para nuestros colegios comunitarios para ayudar con esa, tú sabes, a conectar a la gente con los trabajos y también a entrenarlos para esos trabajos. So, como es una propuesta nueva, vamos a ver cómo va cuando estamos hablando en nuestro budget y vamos a ver qué pasa.
You know, one of the areas I think it's critical for us to do is to continue the investment we've been making in developmental disabilities. And that's why I was pleased to see a $2.4 billion further investment in that area. You know, one of the challenges that we're facing across the sector in healthcare is labor shortages. So it's important that we fully fund the rate increases that we passed last year. In addition, we passed the first in the nation program to cover undocumented residents in the state, which really benefits not only them, but benefits our healthcare system as a whole. And so it's critical that we continue the investments there. In addition, I think it's important that we look at what we're doing across the board to expand healthcare access. Last year, we passed a state-based exchange to allow more flexibility and broader healthcare options. And it's critical that we maintain our momentum in getting that implemented smoothly. The heavy investment in early childhood education, I think, is critical. I am so glad to see that we're going to continue that work. We're also going to be continuing the support for the MAP program to allow people to go to college with a $10 million investment there, and one that's near and dear to my heart, an additional $10 million investment for career and technical education, which helps our students find good, high-paying, high-interest jobs. You know, they're doing a great job with another balanced budget of continuing 5 years of balanced budgets, 9 credit upgrades, eliminating our bill backlog, and really making investments in the things that grow jobs and help our families.
So for this year's budget, I want to continue to prioritize higher education spending, child care services, infrastructure, and our veterans benefits here in the state of Illinois. I actually have a bill that would fully fund a program we have in the state of Illinois. For many years, we've required universities to accept our veterans into their programs, but we haven't provided the resources to make sure that they can fulfill that commitment. And so this bill would fund $25 million to fully fund the Illinois Veterans Grant and the National Guard Grant. Yes, you know, my door is always open to anyone with a good idea, regardless of what party it comes from. I come from a downstate district that has both Democrats and Republicans. I'm listening to those ideas every day. I'm more than willing to work across the aisle to try to find a good, balanced budget for the state of Illinois.
It signaled that we are supporting our young people with learning at an early age. There's additional $400 million the governor is proposing to create avenues for lifelongers. Creating the Department on Early Childhood Education is a long time coming. Merging and streamlining the efforts at DCFS, HFS, ISB under one roof is something that we desperately need here in Illinois. Well, as a member of the Black Caucus, we have been fighting for equity and inclusion and access and just overall fairness. I believe the governor has focused on streamlining a lot of systemic issues that impacted and impeding our development. I love the fact that he mentioned homeless for the Black community. He's including more resources in child care tax credit, a family child credit, and I think these are areas that will ultimately support many of the endeavors that we've been seeking to do over the years. You know, I'm super excited about the Early Childhood Development Department. In 2006, we extended the Preschool for All, and now here we are almost 20 years later, finally gathering up a department that just recognizes the importance for 3 and 4-year-olds to be prepared for full-day kindergarten. So I'm looking forward to advancing our children from pre through 20 and also working in the space of higher education with the Illinois Board of Higher Ed to create an equitable funding system for our colleges and universities.
Using the governor's word, is disciplined, but it's also compassionate. It allows for the investment of about almost $53 billion in general revenue funding, but it pays that, it makes investments in our rainy day fund, about over $2 billion in our rainy day fund. It invests in our pension payments. It really sets us up for the future. But it's a good first step to continue our discussions on the end of the current fiscal year, but also the fiscal year 25 budget. I've always said that the safest communities are not the communities with the most law enforcement officers, but they're the ones with the most resources and the most investments. We've got to invest in creating opportunities and pathways to success, but making sure we prevent crime from happening in the first place. And for us, this budget includes significant resources, including $200 million for the Restore, Renew, and Reinvest program, but also includes funding for about $30 million in gun violence prevention initiatives. So making sure we make those investments in preventing crime from happening in the first place is going to be critical. I'm very happy that we've made those investments, and we'll continue to make those investments. But we also do want to invest in public safety initiatives. What you'll see in this budget is funding for 100 new state police officers. Those are making sure we have troopers on the road, invest in making sure we have the investments necessary to keep our communities safe. I'm going to continue to make sure that we pass a balanced, responsible budget, one that invests in our educating our young people, invests in protecting our most vulnerable, but one that not only sets us up for the next fiscal year, but for the next generation. The Senate Democrats have always been leading the discussions and leading the charge for making sure we have a sound fiscal budget, and we'll continue to do that.
A really good start. Of course, this is the governor's plan, what he wants to see incorporated in the budget, but I'm looking forward to the budget negotiations over the next several months and try to finalize the plan. But a really good start to, it contains a lot of priorities I think we as lawmakers want to see included as well. Really happy to see the governor's continued investment in education from birth to college. It begins, so many parents are frustrated because they can't access preschool, early childhood services for the 3 and 4-year-olds. And for the second year in a row, we really want to make this a priority to make sure that parents and their children have access to early childhood services. This will include another investment. It will make sure that children's educational attainment is met, and I think it will be a big relief for parents in trying to make ends meet to make sure their children have access to education. Also, a couple of years ago, we passed a new funding formula for schools throughout the state, and it really has benefited Rockford area schools, and so this will contain another $300 million investment in this school funding formula. It's meant a couple things for Rockford area schools. It's meant adequate resources for students in the Rockford area region, but also it's provided some property tax relief for taxpayers. The Rockford School District, for example, has seen property tax rates go down the past couple of years up to the tune of 20%, and that's in part because of the additional funding and the new school funding formula that we passed in Springfield a couple of years ago. too many families that are facing bankruptcy, can't access housing because, unfortunately, they're dealing with a medical situation. You can't control if you're dealing with a healthcare crisis, and people are dealing with that financially, and that's unfortunate. So I was really happy to see some plan put forward to help residents of Illinois deal with whatever medical debt they may be facing. I'm also introducing legislation this spring that will prohibit credit agencies from reporting medical debt. People should be able to continue with their lives no matter if they're facing a healthcare crisis. They can't control that. So it shouldn't affect their credit reports and should not affect their ability to access services and things like housing. And if people are having trouble paying those down debt, I think the state should take a role in making sure we can help people out.
Thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to keep up to date with news from the caucus. For more information on what the senator is working on, you can follow them on social media using the links in the description below.